Studio RGG, the makers of Yakuza, various spin-offs to the world and franchise, reinventing it in Yakuza 7 Like a Dragon, and doing the most recent and ambitious spin-off, Lost Judgment. Arguably, in my honest view and perspective, Lost Judgment and the Judgment franchise is their greatest work to date. Bringing everything that they had learned, created and discovered through the Yakuza franchise and bringing it to Lost Judgment and the Judgment universe. All being a universe that is shared and even running parallel to the Yakuza universe. Same timeline, same cities, same world, but different stories and different lives. Playing Judgment, the remastered version on PlayStation 5, and then spending close to 100, 110, maybe even 130 hours in the game. It then cemented why Studio RGG is one of the, if not the greatest storytelling studios in the video game industry. And for me, I hadn't felt the highs, lows of emotions and hunger to know what came next since honestly playing Yakuza 0. Where in that game, falling in love with the character of Majima before he became the Mad Dog himself. Now playing Lost Judgment, albeit here showing very early gameplay footage to prevent spoilers of the main story and later content in the game, it was clear to me that this is how a sequel should always be made. Studio RGG didn't just create a new story and rehash the same mechanics again. No. Yes, we've got a familiar platform, a familiar set of main characters and side characters, while introducing almost a whole new city, a whole new set of characters, whole new set of antagonists, protagonists, the whole lot. While also naturally making it feel like a sequel and not something that was rushed or forced or it's not profitable until it's a series sort of thing. A lot of games tend to, well, copy-paste a lot in a sense of, okay, these are the activities that you did in the first game. Now you're going to redo those exact same activities in the second game because for some unambiguous reason, you now have to complete the exact same requirements again because everything resets. Realistically, in the real world, nothing really resets. If you've become friends with people or people have exited your life for various reasons, that tends to be the case for a long period of time. There's no magical redo button in the world where, let's forget what happened in the last several years and let's start off again like we've never met. Start off fresh. Reality isn't that kind. And Studio RGG really do understand that. Looking at Lost Judgment compared to its predecessor, Judgment, Yagami-san being the main character of the storyline and his friends, you realize that it understands that the activities of the first game happened. Certain mechanics that may have not been enjoyed fully by the fan base or the customer base happened, and we can make a lighthearted joke to those mechanics and to those storylines and realize, yeah, they happened, they're a thing, and we recognize what we can do better. And we're not just going to rehash the friendship mechanic like so many other, I would say, JRPGs do if they're continuing with the same storyline, that all of a sudden you have to re-become friends with these characters. No, we will introduce a new mechanic, something that makes sense in the world and the structure of the story of this sequel, of this game, and make that the focus of the leveling, the character progression, the evolution of the story and the world. And it makes so much sense, and again makes a set of mechanics that is addicting to play, to listen to and enjoy. Studio RGG have really done the impossible, bringing what was once a very niche and very closed off series that really never left Japan for a long time, popular in the West and around the world, is no easy feat. But them wanting to create a more genuine, honest, drama-filling storyline that we can sort of relate to from hearing things that we do on the news, social media, in our daily lives, and making it the forefront of the game and the world, is something spectacular. As you'll see in the gameplay here, I've stuck to a very early side quest storyline to avoid spoilers. But the gameplay here is of the main school, Sierra High. Sorry if my pronunciation is incorrect. I'm not fluent in Japanese, of course, but I am playing this in Japanese with English subs because as a person who's not too biased whether to do dubs or subs, I can really say that this game really deserves to be played in its native language with the English subtitles on. Even though the subtitles might not be 100% accurate to the translation, it's good enough. And the passion through the voice acting is second to none. So playing through this, Yagami is now infiltrating a school to go through the new case that you've seen in the trailer. A murder has happened. And information links between the school, which is in this new city, and the original city from Judgment. And of course, those from the detective agency and from the law firm, all working together to work out what's going on. The school is littered with side quests, characters that you grow bonds with. You want to help, you want to know more, you want to seek out what's happening. It's to the point where you start off not caring. It's like, it's just another school, another location, why should I care? But as the characters develop, as the characters evolve and their storylines evolve, you become more emotionally attached. And not forced, but naturally. You want to know why they're doing what they're doing. What struggles they've gone through in their life that's brought them to the point that they are at now. And what drives their motivation to continue on this path of destruction. In some cases, destruction of themselves. And as you do that, along with the main character, Yagami, you yourself become greatly attached to all these characters. And meeting old characters as well, and realizing that those events happened, those special events that happened in the first game where you gain all the friends that you can through the friendship mechanic and unlock that side quest that sort of ties a nice bow on a faction, an enemy faction that you've been trying to stop throughout the whole game that annoyed the living Christ out of you. Just for the fact that the amount of text messages and calls you got about this gang running havoc in the town and beating up friends. Seeing their downfall and seeing their evolution and recognizing that yes, this happened. This is a living, breathing world where everything that happened in the first game has now affected the storyline in the second game. This is a true sequel. Not a forced sequel, not a rehash, not recycled mechanics, but a true sequel. Fixing issues from the first game that weren't game-breaking issues by any means, but a life improvement, to say. Ease of life improvement. In a way where now they're far more enjoyable than they were annoying. The detective mechanics or tailing someone is a lot more natural, where in the first game you could only go and hide behind certain objects. Not all had that ability for you to hide behind them, where now any object or wall just about allows you to blend in or hide from the target that you're tailing should they feel like, am I being watched? Or pressing a QuickTime event button that has a meter attached to it that is used up the more you use it, to sort of blend in using your phone or interacting with other objects around the world to make it look like you're a shopper or just someone who's on social media and you're not following them at all. it makes so much more sense and a natural progression from the first game to now. All these things, including the great writing skills, emotion packed in lines, improved cutscenes that have a more, I guess, interactive 3D comic book style conversation panels in the game with the main character and whoever else they're having a conversation with, are all great improvements. Seems like where they wanted to go with previous Yakuza games, especially Yakuza 0, had those comic book panels, but they weren't animated. They were voiced, but they weren't animated. Where here they took it to the next level and I guess had the budget or the time to actually do what they always wanted to do with that style of storytelling, which works wonderfully well. Lost Judgment, I feel like, is the best game that RGG has ever made. For me, playing through Yakuza, I was introduced into the Yakuza franchise finally through Yakuza 0. Then playing through the Kiwami 1, Kiwami 2, and then the remastered pack that came with the remaining games, and then playing the final one for Kiryu in Yakuza 6. Those were all great, but you could see stumbling blocks along the way. They would add mechanics, remove mechanics, add features, remove features, change storytelling types, changing a lot of antagonists and side characters, and developing a story, of course, in Kiryu's life. But for me, it never really hit the high of Yakuza 0 playing between Kiryu and Majima. Something about that game just made me fall in love with the studio and the world of the Yakuza games and just the storytelling and everything they do. Yakuza 7, Like a Dragon, continuing on the story of Yakuza 6, but with a new protagonist. But continuing on the political storyline that's through the Yakuza families and what was happening in the previous games was great. Turning into a turn-based combat game, interesting. I felt like partially something was lost going into the turn-based, but by no means was it terrible. They wanted to keep the franchise fresh and new and wanted to explore alternate paths, and it seemed like it worked because the next game in the Yakuza franchise is going to continue in that turn-based combat style, which in its own is fantastic, but never really captured the essence of Yakuza doing the brawler style that's in all the prior 6 Yakuza games and prior spin-offs as well. And then Judgment came along, having 2 combat styles in the brawler, which was fun, but felt like something was still missing. And that something missing was the snake form, or the snake pose in Lost Judgment, which is addicting and fun and fantastic. It is the combat stance that brings the gameplay all together. All the combat together. It feels natural, it feels fun, it feels like it's worth experimenting with all 3 and seeing what combos you can do, what abilities you can unlock, and what epic finishes and abilities you can pull off during boss fights or large group brawls, etc. Which felt like it was a bit missing from Yakuza 7 for myself. But again, completely love that game. Amazing game. But it shows that Studio RGG isn't afraid to experiment, isn't afraid to try new things and reinvent the wheel where need be, but also realize that they've got something great going, so if it's not broken, don't try to fix it, but add to it, improve it more. Don't reinvent the wheel where you don't need to. Hearing the rumors that potentially this is the last game in the Judgment franchise due to talent agency and Sega quarrels in regards to doing a PC version of the game and leaving a whole group of people who love and appreciate the RGG Studio games, the Yakuza franchise, and who played the first Judgment. It's not a good feeling, but here's hoping they can work something out, because not continuing this series, especially with Yagami as the main protagonist and keeping the voice actor, I think is a perfect fit. Personally, I can't see anyone else playing that role, nor do I want anyone else to ever play that role. Lost Judgment is the sequel that all sequels should aspire to be. All games that all games should aspire to be. It is an evolution done naturally, done right. It keeps you hooked from start to finish. The mini games are so fun and addicting, and just because you might have finished them doesn't mean you don't want to go back and play them anyway. Just because you can sink hundreds of hours in them easily. Having a back catalogue of old Sega games all on there, having a Dreamcast and unlocking the games for them and playing them. One's games that you would have seen in your childhood, played at a friend's house or even owned yourself at one point, is insane. The Dragon Engine is capable of amazing things, visually and mechanically, and how they're able to pack in so much into a single game really makes you think how other studios willingly make content and cut it out or charge full price on a game and have barely any content there other than, maybe a 20-hour story, and that's it, and a few side quests to push it to 30 or 40 hours or 50 if you're lucky, and charge full price, and a lot of it feels padded and just uninteresting. But Studio RGG really pulled it off. Lost Judgment is easily Game of the Year for me for 2021, and maybe for a lot of you too. It shows what games should be and how they should be made, and how a sequel can really elevate a franchise and truly be an improvement on anything and everything you played before in that franchise. As much as I'd like to keep this video going all the way to the full hour of recording of footage that I have, as interesting as it is, I think keeping this to a 20-minute limit or just under that would be the best bet. Hopefully I've been able to capture some real interesting footage here for you guys to enjoy, especially if you're on edge of picking up Lost Judgment, or have played the first one, not sure about the second one, or haven't played either. I highly recommend that you give it a go. It is, I believe, a spin-off that's becoming no longer a spin-off, its own has become its own true franchise, dedicated of its own title, its own fan base, its own customer base. For me, I haven't felt this happy and excited about a game since playing Yakuza 0 personally. And I feel like RGG is at pinnacle form right now. And where they go from here, I have no idea, but I know it's going to be amazing. And I really hope to see a third game and many more games in the Judgment franchise. We have Judgment, we have Lost Judgment, let's have even more Lost Judgment. Whatever they decide to call it, and hopefully they do make it, because for someone who never knew anything about the Judgment games other just hearing about them and potentially hearing that, they're just GTA clones but set in Japan, nothing of the sort. For me, they've transcended anything GTA has ever done, mechanically and story-wise, and they really are, everything they make is truly a masterpiece. This game is my game of the year. This isn't much of a review as more as it is a discussion on everything. But seeing how they've been able to bring back mechanics from like Yakuza 0 and to an extent Yakuza 7, bringing the armor back, the crafting from the previous game, the transmutation stuff in the previous game, and just having it all available straight off the bat for you. That is a game that is self-aware, a studio that's self-aware and knows how to naturally progress a story in a world and make it feel amazing all over again. Here's to more Judgment, and here's to more Studio RGG and everything that they make because as far as I'm concerned, everything they do turns into gold. Thank you for watching. I've been your host, Cryptic, and I will catch you all in the next video. Take care.